ललिता श्री विशाखाम्युदंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांध राधा कांध नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुदे देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So I'm going to share the screen. So let me pull out that Srimad Bhagavatam. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरं योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचम् इमां प्रसूक्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्सुधाम्नां अन्यां च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणां नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं। तमादिदेवं करुणानिधानं तमालवर्णं सुहृदावतारम् अपार संसार समुद्र सेतुं भजामहे भागवत स्वरूपं परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षि अक्षराय दे सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुमे। हरि ओम तत्सत। So Hare Krishna, this is chapter 17, right?
18.15 Prabhuji.
18.15. 18.15. Okay. 18. Maharaja Parikshit's curse by Brahmana boy. 1.18.15. तन्नो भवान् वै भगवत् प्रधानो महत्तमैकान्त परायणस्य हरेरुदारं चरितं विशुद्धं शुश्रूषतं नो विदनोतु विद्वन्. So Sarva Palak Prabhu and family, please recite the sloka and the translation also, please read.
तन्नो भवान् वै भगवत् प्रधानो महात्मैकान्ता परायणस्य हरेरुदारं चरितं विशुद्धं शुश्रूषतां नो विदुनोतु विद्वान्.
Hari Bol. Translation.
O Sutta Goswami, you are learned and pure devotee of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception, for we are anxious to receive such messages.
Hari Bol. O Sutta Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception, for we are anxious to receive such messages. So one very important lesson that we have to learn from this sloka is Now, who is the chief object of our service? If the object of service is wrong, whatever we do in this material, everything goes topsy-turvy, everything goes wrong. So there are many other school of thoughts or so-called spiritual organization. They are doing the same thing what we are all doing. Okay, they are doing the, you know, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vandanam, and everything they are doing. You know, they are hearing, they are also glorifying, they are doing Archana, the same, you know, deity worship. What we are doing, the same. But who is the object of the chief service? Unfortunately, he is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You know, the so-called Baba. You know, I don't want to name. No, the object of worship is totally different. So what is the destination? They will not attain the destination they're supposed to get in this human form of life. Unfortunately, the object of worship is wrong. They are doing the same activities what we are doing. They're also glorifying that the object of worship. You know, unfortunately, it is a wrong person whom they treat as the Supreme Lord. So that's why they will not attain what they are supposed to attain in this human form of life. So this is a very good lesson. Now here, the sages of Naimisharanya is addressing, O Sudha Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Suppose instead of Supreme Personality of Godhead, if we keep the object of worship somebody else, an ordinary person, a film personality, okay, or a pseudo so-called incarnation, or you know, a pseudo sannyasi who is not in the right discipline succession, what will happen? We are doomed. We are doomed because, you know, it's so precious life this human life is, and we are wasting that human life. So that's why we have to follow in the footsteps of bona fide acharyas, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. If we are not following them, definitely we will be misguided, and our goal will be totally deviated, and we will not attain what we are supposed to attain, the perfection in this human form of life. Many people ask also, they're also doing the same thing, you're also doing the same thing. So what big difference? The big difference is the object of love, the object of worship is wrong. So this, you know, we have to understand from this sloka. The speaker on the transcendental activities of the Lord should have only one object of worship and service, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the audience for such topics should be anxious to hear about him. When such a combination is possible, namely a qualified speaker and a qualified audience, it is then and there very much congenial to continue discourses on the transcendence. Okay. Professional speakers and a materially absorbed audience cannot derive real benefit from such discourses. Why? Because professional speakers, they are not doing devotional service. They are doing this, activity for their sustenance, for filling their belly or making money out of it. Okay, for their name and fame. So that, they may get benefits, but they will not get the ultimate benefit of this activity, because they are doing the spiritual activity. They are glorifying the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees. They will get the benefit definitely, but they will not get the required benefit as a pure devotee gets it, because they are doing it for some anticipated reasons, some motive. It's said that in Srimad Bhagavatam, what it is said, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yado Bhakti Radhokshaje Ahaituki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasid. Ahaituki Apratihata. We should be unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service, not with some motive or with some expectation or anticipation that we should do. So usually the professional speakers are doing this for some reason, for some benefit, for some purpose. So they will not achieve what they are supposed to achieve. The ultimate perfection, they will not. That is the only difference. They will not benefit from such discourses. Professional speakers make a show of Bhagavata Saptaha for the sake of family maintenance, and the materially disposed audience hears such discourses of Bhagavata Saptaha for some material benefit, namely religiosity, wealth, gratification of the senses, or liberation. So both the speaker and the listeners are having some material conception and anticipating some material benefits. They are speaking and they are hearing. So this is just in the category of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So what will be the result? Again, they have to come back into this material world. So they will not, the perfection in the human form of life will not, they will not derive it from this sort of speaking and this sort of hearing. So, but the discourses between the saints of Naimisharanya, Sri Sudha Goswami, are on the transcendental level. There is no motive for material gain. In such discourses, unlimited transcendental pleasure is relished both by the audience and by the speaker. And therefore, they can continue the topics for many thousands of years. Now, Bhagavata Saptahas are held for 7 days only. And after finishing the show, both the audience and the speaker become engaged in material activities as usual. They can do so because the speaker is not Bhagavata Prathana and the audience is not Shushrushatam as explained above. So it is not a 7 days matter. It's not a 7 days activity. It's a continuous activity. Satatam Kirtayantoma. Kirtaniya Sadahari. It's not that once in a year, 7 days we conduct Bhagavad Saptaha, we call everybody, and the, what do you call, the Brahmana is there or the Bhagavata speaker is there, he delivers the speech and others here, then only next year. No. It should be Satatam, 24 hours. So that's what Krishna consciousness movement is giving us. So we are getting benefit because every moment, directly or indirectly, we are trying to relate each and every activity of ours to Krishna, to remember Krishna. So every activity, whether directly or indirectly, when we are being reminded of Krishna, we are in Krishna consciousness. So this is how, whatever activities we are doing, the daily course, the office work or household course, whatever it is, even when we are doing that, we should be able to relate to Krishna or we should be able to remember Krishna. So that is Krishna consciousness. This is how we have to engage ourselves. It's not that we stop our regular activity and chant and read. No, that is okay. We are giving an exclusive time for that, reading and chanting other activities. But even while we are doing the material activities, we should be able to remember Krishna. So this is how we have to engage each and every activity so that we will be reminded of Krishna's and his pastimes and qualities and his devotees. So the audience there in the Naimisharanya are also very inquisitive to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the speaker is also very, very curious and anxious to impart this knowledge. Hare Krishna. So any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, one doubt.
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
In Prabhuji, they can do so because the speaker is not Bhagavad Pradhana and the audience is not Shushrusatam. That is Shushrusatam means, Prabhuji.
Yeah, what? Yeah, I didn't get you, Mataji. What is that?
Prabhuji, now you got Prabhuji. Those who are receptive.
Yeah.
It is Prabhuji, the last line.
Yeah. Those are receptive.
Those who are receptive. So those who are hearing Bhagavata Katha, like that, Prabhuji.
Yeah. They also should be hearing without any personal motive. Okay. And the speaker also should be pure. They should not do it for their personal benefit. So both this combination comes. The speaker is also pure and the audience also receptive in the sense that they are not doing for any material benefit. Usually, these are all considered as pious activities. Most of us take this as pious activities. This is not pious activities actually. Yes, people take it. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is very pious. They say that. Speaking about the Supreme Lord and his pastimes and other activities, it's a pious. It's not pious. We should not take this as a pious. Pious means we are doing it for some benefit. We should not do this for some benefit, material benefit. So spiritual benefit, yes, that's fine. You know, we can get what you call advancement in spirituality, but we should not speak nor hear this for some piety, to get some material piety. So if both this speaker and listeners are, you know, doing this as a devotional service without any material motivation, so you will get the right result and you will get perfection. Otherwise, even if you are doing it for material benefit, definitely there will be some spiritual benefit also attached to it. But you know, again, you will be within this material world, because this falls in the category of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, when it is done for some material benefits. Is it clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So any other points? Hare Krishna. Shall we go to the next verse?
Yes, Prabhuji.
1.18.16. Savai Maha Bhagavata Parikshit Yena Pavargakhyam Adarbha Buddhi Jnanena Vaiyasaki Sabditena Bheje Khagendra Dvajapada Moolam. Padmamukhi Mataji and family, can you please recite?
Yes, Prabhuji. Savai Mahabhagavata Parikshit Yena Pavargakyam Adarbha Buddhi Jnanena Vaiyasaki Sabditena Bije Kagendra Dvajapada Moolam.
Prabhuji, I'll read the translation.
Yes, yes.
O Suta Goswami, please describe those topics of the Lord by which Maharaja Parikshit, whose intelligence was fixed on liberation, attained the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the center of Garuda, the king of birds. Those topics were vibrated by the son of Vyasa, Srila Sukadeva.
Very good. So the sages of Naimisharanya is asking, requesting Suta Goswami, please describe those topics of the Lord by which Maharaja Parikshit, whose intelligence was fixed on liberation, attained the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of Garuda, the king of birds. Those topics were vibrated by the son of Vyasa, Srila Sukadeva Goswami. So there is some controversy amongst the students on the path of liberation. Such transcendental students are known as impersonalists and devotees of the Lord. So there are two categories of students, different school of thoughts. You know, one is the impersonalists, and other one is devotees of the Lord. The devotee of the Lord worships the transcendental form of the Lord, whereas the impersonalist meditates upon the glaring effulgence or the bodily rays of the Lord, known as Brahma Jyoti. Here in this verse, it is said that Maharaja Parikshit attained the lotus feet of the Lord by instructions in knowledge delivered by the son of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami was also an impersonalist in the beginning, as he himself has admitted in the Bhagavatam 2.1.9. But later on, he was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord and thus became a devotee. Just yesterday, I think we, deliberated on this point. Sukadeva Goswami was also a Brahmavadi, but later he became a devotee. Okay. Such devotees with perfect knowledge are called Mahabhagavatas, or first class devotees. There are three classes of devotees, namely Prakrita, Madhyama, Mahabhagavata. The Prakrita or third class devotees are temple worshippers without specific knowledge of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. The Madhyama or the second class devotee knows well the Lord, the Lord's devotees, the neophytes, and the non-devotees also. But the Mahabhagavata or the first class devotee sees everything in relation with the Lord and the Lord present in everyone's relation. So this is basically talking about the Kanishthadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari. The Mahabhagavata therefore does not make any distinction, particularly between a devotee and non-devotee. Okay. They are Uttamadhikari, Mahabhagavata. They will not distinguish a devotee and non-devotee. Maharaja Parikshit was such a Mahabhagavata devotee because he was initiated by a Mahabhagavata devotee. Sukadeva Goswami, he was equally kind even to the personality of Kali, and what to speak of others. Okay. So here, Parikshit was such a Mahabhagavata devotee because he was initiated by a Mahabhagavata devotee. Sukadeva Goswami, he was equally kind even to the personality of Kali, and what to speak of others. So what are the some characteristics of different adhikaris, Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama? Can someone say for Kanishta, what are the characteristics, how they deal with, and what are their understanding, why they are in that category? Can somebody enlighten? Who is a Kanishta adhikari?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Kanishka Adhikari is neophyte devotees Prabhuji.
Yeah. So what are the characteristics?
Characteristic of Kanishka Adhikari is like he knows about Lord, but he don't have knowledge about the Lord. I mean, he know that he is worshipping Lord, but he don't have the knowledge who is he and what is his personality, what is characteristics like. So he don't have much knowledge about Lord, but he just simply worship the Lord. But at the beginning, he chant. Also, is after seeing the other devotees, started to chant. He also chant, but he don't have much knowledge or that intensity will not be there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's
Thank you, Prabhuji. Any other points others want to contribute?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
Pranam Mataji.
Prabhu, a neophyte devotee would be somebody who I could say that relates to a person who from the family they just know that they have to go to the temple and pray, but don't know the real value of the Lord and how how a devotee is supposed to be. Is it right, Prabhu?
Yes, Mother. Yes, yes. Yeah. More points, more light. Other devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
Prabhuji.
Prabhu, I'll attempt. I'm not sure whether it is right or
No
wrong.
problem. No problem. Yeah, everybody can contribute.
Prabhu, the initial, the Kanishta state of devotees are those who believe that God exists only in like temple or specific places like that,
Okay,
and
right.
they go there only in temple. They like go to Lord, and even they don't go there to serve, but to ask for things.
Yeah.
And the second stage is the Madhyama Adhikaris, who actually who can differentiate between a devotee and a non-devotee. Prabhu.
Okay.
And the third stage is a realized stage where they see each and every living being equal in front of Lord, because they view them on a soul platform, Prabhu. They don't see
Okay.
them to be a body, but just to be a the part and parcel of Supreme Lord.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. And others, there are more to it. Let us, finish one and then go to the next. So let us finish Kanishta, then we'll go to the next. So any more points on the Kanishta level?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, a Kanishta Adhikari, that particular devotee does not have a firm faith.
Yes.
He's just a beginner.
Okay.
And he may also fall down because of his association with others, because he doesn't have firm faith.
Right. Okay.
and he is not actually, what do you say, because he is not firmly convinced. Because he doesn't have much knowledge about Shastra.
Okay, fine. Yes, right.
These are some points I remembered, Puri.
Okay, good attempt. So, Kanishka Adhikari, they don't have conviction about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They go to the temple and they think that the Supreme Lord is only available in the temple, and they don't recognize or accept the devotees of the Supreme Lord. Okay, they will not honor them. Only Lord, and Lord is only in the temple, and they don't have firm faith. So somebody better than them comes and argue, they will drift away from this path, because they don't have that unflinching faith nor the sufficient knowledge to stay in the path. So somebody higher than some little more knowledgeable person comes and argue, then they will go in that path. So that's the reason many people join Krishna consciousness, and after some time somebody try to convince, they will go away. Okay, this is not good and that path is good. Why? Because they don't have the right knowledge. They don't have the firm conviction, unflinching faith. So it's very easy to take them away from this right path. Okay, and they think that the Lord is only available in the temple, and the devotees they don't accept. So these are some of the things. Okay, so most of the points are covered by devotees. And who is a Madhyama Adhikari? What are their characteristics? Those who have not given any points can enlighten us now. Other devotees.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Madhyama Adhikaris, they have faith in the scriptures and also in Bhagwan. But the problem is they lack the knowledge. The transcendental knowledge is lost. So if anybody comes and talk to them, they might not be able to refute, but still they have the faith in them.
Everybody agrees that what Mataji said? I have an objection in that.
Yes, Prabhu. I mean, what I know, I just shared, Prabhu, but
yes, and yeah, you're right. Some points are right, but some point is not right also.
Yes,
anybody wants to say what Mataji is, that they don't have full knowledge of the scriptures, right, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, that is, they cannot refute anyone. I mean, the Mahabhagavatas are, for example, Prabhupada was able to, whoever comes to him, any impersonalist, anybody comes to him, Prabhupada was able to refute them perfectly. They couldn't speak against Prabhupada. But Madhyama Adhikaris, that is what I feel, Prabhu. They have that faith in Bhagwan and scriptures, but the wisdom is may be compromised.
Yes, devotees. Other devotees, any comments on that?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, yes.
Prabhuji, Madhyama Adhikaris show compassion towards all the devotees, but they don't encourage those people who are envious of Supreme Lord.
Yes, right, Mataji. So they avoid.
Yes, they avoid.
They avoid, the Madhyama Adhikaris, they basically avoid the envious people. But what about the knowledge? And what about the knowledge? Sachi Mataji is telling that they don't have full knowledge of the scriptures, so they cannot refute. Is it right or wrong?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, tell me.
Danda Pranam.
Danda Pranam.
Prabhuji, what my understanding is that Madhyama Adhikari, they have complete knowledge And even Prabhupada, actually, for preaching purpose, he came to Madhyama level, because in the Uttama level, we have to see, we cannot distinguish the devotees and non-devotees. Means Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, they see everybody as same. So in that level, preaching will be difficult. So Madhyamadhikari has the knowledge, and as Dipti Mataji said, they try to avoid the association of the non-devotees. And any other point?
Yes, Prabhuji, you are right, and Dipti Mataji also right, and Sachi Mataji is also right. Only one point, Sachi Mataji, that they have the full knowledge. Okay, it's not that they are bereft of knowledge; they have 100% knowledge. Only thing is, because they are in the Madhyama, they will segregate the pious and impious. I mean, the devotees and non-devotees. They want to avoid. They don't want to make panga with them. No, they want to avoid, and that is purposefully. They want to avoid. They will avoid them also. They will. Whereas the other category, is totally, Uttama in the pure mode of goodness. So they will see, as Prabhuji rightly said, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Asini Sunichaiva Sopakecha Pandita Samadarshina. When in the preaching level, if you want to preach to others, you cannot be Uttamadhyari. It's very difficult, because you will not differentiate who is envious, who is non-envious, who is devotee, who is non-devotee. So the Madhyamadhyari avoid the envious, and they will discriminate. Others will not discriminate. Whom? Uttamadhyari. So preaching is possible. It's really effective when they are on the Madhyama. So even though a Uttamadhyari, when they come to the battlefield, they purposely come down to the level of Madhyama, then discriminate and preach. Is it clear? So Uttama Adhikari is the one, they will not discriminate, whoever it is. They are not there to fight, or they are not to debate. They are in a totally different level. Is it clear, Sachi Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu.
So they have all the knowledge. They can refute also, but they will not unnecessarily get involved in such unnecessary arguments and debate, which doesn't make any good for them. Okay, so they avoid. If somebody is inquisitive, yes, well, we are there to help them. We are there to assist them, guide them. Otherwise, they don't unnecessarily involve in such unworthy arguments. So is it clear? Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari. Is it clear? Or any other point somebody has? Please come forward. Okay, so we'll go to the next para.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
The last line of the paragraph, that he was equally kind even to the personality of Kali. And what is the personality of Kali? Who he is referring to, Prabhuji? Is Papa Purusha?
Not Papa. Papa Purusha is a different person. This is the personality of Kali, who is in the age of Kali Yuga, because the Kali personified influence the people in the age of Kali for that 4 illicit activities. Okay, so he wanted to place, because then Parikshit Maharaj said, yes, I can give you place. He did not kill him also. That's why he's on the Uttama level. Prabhupada is telling here. He also gave place to Kali, who wants the people in the age of Kali to get involved in these 4 illicit activities: gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, and intoxication. Right? So Parikshit Maharaj told the personality of Kali, you can stay where these things are going on. That's the right place for you. And plus where there is wealth or gold. So this is the personality of Kali.
Okay, fine, Prabhuji. Thank you. So in this case, based on this definition of Uttama and Madhyamadhikari, So which one is better then, Prabhuji? For to for the benefit of general mass, is it to be a Uttama Adhikari is good, or to be a Madhyama Adhikari is good?
Prabhuji, for Uttama Adhikari is definitely good, because for the preaching purpose, for example, Prabhupada is Uttama Adhikari, because he want to impart this knowledge discriminately, not indiscriminately. Why we have to discriminate? There are different types of people with different consciousness. So discrimination is a must here, especially for the general mass. So although Prabhupada is on the platform of Uttama Adhikari, comes down to this level. Just for example, you are a very learned person. You are a PhD degree holder. Okay, but you are teaching to KG students or first and second standard. You have to come down to their level, right? To teach them. You cannot speak hi-fi things which you have learned in the PhD or postdoc, whatever it is. You have to come down to the level of those children who are in the first or second or third standard elementary school. So you come down. It's not that I have so much of knowledge, so I'll speak only hi-fi knowledge. No. So similarly, the Uttama Adhikari come down to the level of Madhyama Adhikari for the preaching purpose only. It doesn't mean that he is on the Madhyama level. He is always on the Uttama level. But for the benefit of general mass, as you rightly said, they come down to that level and preach. Is it clear, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, clear it is. Thank you.
Correct. So there are many instances in the transcendental histories of the world of an impersonalist who has later become a devotee. But a devotee has never become an impersonalist. There are no proof that the devotee has become, a pure devotee has become impersonalist. Other instances that the impersonalist has become personalist. That is there. But the personalist has not become impersonalist. So this very fact proves that on the transcendental steps, the step occupied by a devotee is higher than the step occupied by an impersonalist. So it clearly proves that the personalism is higher than the impersonalism. No, the example, very well we can give in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu transformed two great personalities of that time. One is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and other one is Prakashananda Saraswati. They were hardcore impersonalists of that time, very well known. So both of them have been transformed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to personalist. They became devotee, not otherwise. Okay, so this is an example that we can always quote from that recent time, just 450, 500 years before this has happened. There is nothing in the record that the personalist or the pure devotee has become impersonalist. So this is not there in the record or in the history. So this very fact proves that on the transcendental steps, the step occupied by devotees higher than the step occupied by an impersonalist. Even otherwise, if you see the recent past history, how this personalism, impersonalism has been refined. We know the Lord Buddha. He preached impersonalism, voidism, nirvishesha, shunyavadi, right? Then came who? Adi Shankaracharya, who brought Advaitam. Then came Ramanujacharya, Vishishtadvaitam. Then came Madhvacharya, Shuddhadvaitam. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achinta Bheda Abhedam. So it's a slow and gradual refinement took place, isn't it? So personalism was there. It's not that impersonalism was there and is there also. Because of the influence of Adi Shankaracharya, the impersonalism is more rampant in India and other parts of the world also. Even the other school of thoughts also is on the same level of impersonalism that some of our acharyas or some of people in India are following. That's why in this thing also, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine in the Pranam Mantra of Srila Prabhupada. Okay. Nirvishesha, there is no Vishesha, no quality, no attributes. Shunya means void. Everything becomes void after we leave. So this is the philosophy they're all following. So personalism is the right. When somebody asks who is God, is he a Vyakti or a Shakti? Almost all of the people in India, if you ask, except the Vaishnava Sampradaya, they will say God is Shakti, isn't it? Shakti means impersonalism. There's no form. Vyakti means it's a person. There is a form. So Vaishnava school of thoughts teaches us that the Supreme Lord is a Vyakti, is a person. Just like how you and me are persons, the Supreme Lord is also a person. So only difference is he is a supreme person. He is Parabrahman. We are Brahman. So that's only difference. So one of the aspect of Supreme Lord is also is imperson in the way that that is the abstract light or the effulgence that emanates from his body. So that is one of the aspect. Yes, so that understanding is incomplete. So when you know he has the three aspects, and the topmost aspect of that is Bhagwan, the personal form of Supreme Person. He is a complete realized person. That knowledge is complete. Okay, so it is also stated in Bhagavad Gita of 12.5 that persons stuck on the impersonal step undergo more sufferings than achievement of reality. Therefore, knowledge imparted by Sukadeva Goswami unto Maharaja Parikshit helped him attain the service of the Lord. So here there is service is there. In personism, there is service, devotional service. In impersonalism, there is no service because there is no form for the Bhagavan whom to do devotional service. Okay, they may accept the worship of vigrahas, murtis, but that is only a means to achieve the Brahman, the impersonal Brahman. But whereas for us, it is a means and it's a goal also. Simple knowledge of liberation is material knowledge. Actual freedom from material bondage is called liberation, but attainment of the transcendental service of the Lord is called the perfect stage of liberation. Such a stage is attained by knowledge and renunciation, as we have already explained Bhagavatam 1.2.12, and perfect knowledge is delivered by Srila Sukadeva Goswami, results in attainment of the transcendental service of the Lord. So that is what the perfection, the transcendental service to the Lord is the highest perfection in spirituality, not losing our individuality and trying to get into the Brahma Jyoti and losing our individuality. That is not the perfection of human life. Perfection of human life is when we can do devotional service not only in this world but in the spiritual world also. That this spiritual services, this devotional services continues in the spiritual world also. At no time we will cease the service. At no time, no point of time. In whichever form we are, we may be in material world, we may be in the spiritual. In the material world, the service is misdirected. That's the only difference. Why? The service is not to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The service is to the so-called so many other object of worship. But in the spiritual world, it's also directed to the Supreme Lord as a person, as Bhagavan. So service always continues, whether it is in the material world or whether it is in the spiritual world. Is it clear, Prabhuji? Prabhujis and Madajis? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Any other comments? So we'll go to the next 1.18.17. Tanna param punyam asamrutartham akyanam atyadbhuta yoga nishtam akyahi ananda charitopapannam parikshitam bhagavatabhiramam. And Dipti Mataji and family, please recite.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Tanna param punyamasamritartham akhyanamathyadbhudayoganishtam akhyati ananta charitopapannam parikshitam bhagavatabhiramam.
Translation.
Prabhuji, shall I read the translation?
Yeah.
Prabhuji is attending the Jilani camp.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, please.
Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharaja Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga.
So thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Maharajas Parikshit, and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga. What was spoken to Maharaja Parikshit and what is very dear to pure devotees? Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is mainly full of narrations of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited, and therefore it is the science of Bhakti Yoga, or the devotional service to the Lord. Thus, it is para or supreme. Because although it is enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with the devotional service of the Lord. So here, Bhakti is given emphasis. Okay? Bhakti Yoga is a culmination of all other yogas. In what way? Can anybody explain? Bhakti Yoga is culmination of karma, jnana, dhyana, bhakti, everything. Can somebody explain how is it?
Whatever attained has been attained will be attained by just following the Bhagavad Gita. Sorry, Bhakti Yoga. Whatever has been attained or will be attained from other yogas, will be easily attained just following the Bhakti Yoga only.
Yes, but then people are complaining that these Hare Krishnas are just chanting and doing nothing.
It is because they don't have that knowledge, I mean, the faith, full what you call, full, I mean, the faith is not there fully, they are not fully convinced actually. So that's why.
Okay.
Because they want to follow the traditional way of, yogas basically. Okay. And they don't have much knowledge about Krishna and, all, their position, their, relationship with God. So they don't have this knowledge basically. So that's why they just wanted to follow their traditional way of yogas.
No, their complaint is that, you don't do any activity. You just keep chanting and dancing and eating. That's all. You don't do any philanthropic activity and all these things. Their complaint, Hare Krishnas are lazy. So I am asking you how this Bhakti Yoga is a culmination of other yogas, just like Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. So how can you? Yes. Danda Pranam Prabhuji.
Okay, sir. Prabhu, I would like to quote from Bhagavad Gita, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Like from Bhagavad Gita, when we start now, Prabhu, from the Karma Yoga section, after knowing about the that we are not the body, that we are the soul from the second chapter, we slowly progress towards the Karma Yoga. Then Krishna advises Arjuna that Karma Yoga without attaching to the results. Then you perform and then surrender unto me. So from Karma Yoga, then slowly we are transgressing towards the Dhyana Yoga. From Dhyana Yoga, we are concentrating on the super soul, which is nothing but Paramatma. Still, the soul has not found the real owner of the process, or to whom all these yogas should go and reach. Because yoga is a process of culmination of all the activities. So in that sense, after passing through Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, after meditating on the super soul, still we have not found answer. Then we, through the Bhakti Yoga, we find out that it is unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, which by Bhakti only we can reach Sri Krishna. So all the yogas is culminating towards the Bhakti Yoga only. Finally, Bhakti Yoga only can reach us towards Krishna.
Very good. But then Prabhuji, I have not done Dhyana Yoga, I have not done Jnana Yoga, I have not done Karma Yoga. I have straight away come to Bhakti Yoga. So how can you say that this Bhakti Yoga has all other ingredients?
Because Bhagavan says, no, Prabhuji, that this Bhajate Mam is the highest service, is the highest what you call the highest way when 12th chapter Arjuna asks Bhagavan whether should I follow the Sankhya Yoga principle or the Bhakti Yoga principle, Krishna very clearly tells, no Prabhu, Bhakti Yoga will be the highest among all the other yogas. So knowing that knowledge, we have to follow the Bhakti Yoga.
That's okay. We know that Bhakti Yoga is the highest knowledge. We have to follow Bhakti Yoga. My question is how this Bhakti Yoga has karma, jnana and dhyana. This is my question.
In Bhakti Yoga, we can say like Prabhu, like how Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, how every ingredient is inside the Bhakti Yoga, we can do like this, because Jnana Yoga means knowing that we are not the body, we are the soul. So how in the Bhakti process, by doing service towards Krishna, we totally forget that we are the body, but we are the eternal servants of Krishna. So in that way, that knowledge of Jnana Yoga, we are already practicing in Bhakti Yoga. Then through Karma Yoga. In Karma Yoga, by practicing that, all our results, what we do, everything will be for Krishna. What we do, the flower, the deity worship, any activity, whatever activity we do, that will be to please Krishna. So Karma Yoga will be covered. Then Dhyana Yoga is nothing but or concentrating on the Paramatma, that we do by chanting, by preaching. So Ananyas Chintayantomam. So 24 hours we are doing service to Krishna on the Dhyana Yoga platform. So I feel that this is the way in Bhakti Yoga, all the other ingredients are inside.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Padmamukhi Mataji, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji, I was about to say that the last point, Prabhuji shared that point, Prabhuji. It means we are doing, you told Prabhuji, straight away you came to Bhakti Yoga, but we are doing chanting by Karma Yoga and that Dhyana Yoga, and Karma Yoga we are doing other devotional activities, and Jnana Yoga we are reading scriptures. So everything is linking through the Bhakti Yoga. Prabhuji shared that point.
Yes. So in brief, in Bhakti Yoga, all other elements are there. For example, we are doing activities. We are not simply sitting just like Jnanis. Jnanis, they want to avoid activities because why? They don't want to get involved in this karma. So they want to avoid Jnanis. So we are not that. We are doing all sort of activities. But only thing is, everything is surrendered, or we are keeping Krishna in the center. We are doing the activity for his pleasure. So karma is there. Jnana, we are reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, the topmost sublime literature. We have Jnana of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada has given all these literatures for what? For knowledge. It's not that a blind belief. We don't read anything and we are doing whimsically. We are doing all the activities as per Shastra, especially as per Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so this is Jnana. And Dhyana, the Dhyana that we are talking about, the Ashtanga Yoga and other process, which is not relevant in the age. The Dhyana of this age is Nama Sankirtana, chanting the holy name of the Lord. So that is there. And of course, the Bhakti is there in Bhakti. So all these elements are there in Bhakti Yoga. Whereas in Karma, there's only Karma. They don't have Jnana. Jnana, they don't do Karma, only Jnana. In Dhyana, also Jnana. So this Bhakti is the only one which has all other elements. And extra, we can enjoy. Every day is a feast because we are having prasadam. Every day we are dancing and singing. So the devotees are enjoying the life. And we are also benefited because we are getting the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And we can get delivered from this material existence. And we can associate with the Supreme Lord Purusha, the Param Purusha, in different mellows and different rasas, in our own Swarupa. So these are the added advantage in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the Bhakti Yoga system, which others doesn't enjoy that. Karmis, even if they do fruity activities, they may get elevated to the higher planetary system, Sargaloka and other lokas, and after the punya is finished, they have to come back. Jnanis, maximum, there are also transcendents, maximum they will go to the Brahmajyoti. Yogis also end up in Brahmajyoti. But the Bhaktas, they will go to the Vaikuntha, they will go to Goloka Vrindavana, where they can associate with the Supreme Lord in their own Swarupa and having Satchidananda form just like that of the Supreme Lord in quality. So this is a lot of difference between the other path and the Bhakti Yoga path. Is it clear, Prabhujis and Madhajis? Haribol?
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So we'll go to the next. 1.18 point. Suta uvacha aho vayam janma bhrutodhyah asma vridhano vrityapi viloma jatah daushkulyam adhim vidhunoti sigram mahattamanam abhidhana yogaha. Nanda Gopal Prabhu and family.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Uvacha ako vayam janma vrittodaya hamsa vrittan vrityapi viloma jata daksha dushkula kulyam adim vidunoti sigram magatmanam abhidhana yoga.
Yes. Yeah.
Sri Swami said, "Oh God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualification resulting from lower birth."
Sri Suta Goswami said, "Oh God, although we are born in a mixed caste." Why is he saying that? He is not a Brahmana. That's why he's called Suta. Okay. Even who was addressed Suta Putra in Mahabharata?
Karna.
Vidura.
Karna.
Yes, sorry, Karna. Right.
Okay. So although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower birth. So here one thing we have to understand, this is very clear, that it is not the birthright. It is only by qualification. To become to the platform of Brahmana and Vaishnava is not a birthright. Okay. Chadurvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha. According to the guna and the karma, it is categorized, is divided, not by birth. Okay, it's an advantage to have a birth in the Brahmanical family because it's a conducive atmosphere for that person to advance spiritually. Whereas the people taken birth in other varnas, a little difficult. Just like Prahlad Maharaj in Asuric family, he became a pure devotee. Dhruva, Kshatriya family, became a pure devotee, isn't it? Vatmiki, he was a hunter, dacoit, he became a pure devotee. Vyasadeva himself, who was his mother? Who was his father? Who was his mother?
Satyavati, Guru.
Satyavati. From which caste?
Fisherwoman.
Fisherwoman. So if you see, nobody is Brahmana, but they are all above Brahmanas, Vaishnavas. So they have attained how? They got this by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Most of them got the association of Narada Maharshi, Vyasadeva, Valmiki, Dhruva, Prahlad. All of them got the association of Naradaji, a great devotee. So even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower birth. So whether we are in the lower birth or whatever birth, higher birth or lower birth of the train, we can still get elevated to the platform of a pure devotee if he rightly associates. So Suda Goswami did not take birth in a Brahmana family. He was born in a family of mixed caste or an uncultured low family. But because of higher association like Sri Sukadeva Goswami and the great rishis of Naimisharanya, certainly the disqualification of inferior birth was washed off. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed these principles in persons of the Vedic usages. And by his transcendental association, he elevated many low-born or those disqualified by birth or action to the status of devotional service and established them in the position of acharyas or authorities. He clearly stated that any man, whatever he may be, whether a Brahmana or a Sudra by birth or a householder or mendicant, in the order of society, if he is conversant with the science of Krishna, he can be accepted as an acharya or guru, a spiritual master. The best example is Namacharya Haridas Thakur, who was born a Muslim. He was promoted to the position of an acharya, Nama Acharya. Although he was not allowed to enter Sri Puri Dham temple, Lord himself came to him every day with prasadam. What more fortune do you want? The Lord is coming to us. It's not that we are going to the Lord. Every day Lord comes with the prasadam, his own prasadam, and gives. So that is, so there is no qualification of birth by birth Brahmana. Suda Goswami learned the science of Krishna from great rishis and authorities like Sukadeva and Vyasadeva, and he was so qualified that even the sages of Naimisharanya eagerly wanted to hear from him the science of Krishna in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he had that double association of great souls by hearing and preaching. So he is very lucky because double association. How is that? He was listening to Sukadeva Goswami and he is getting association of the sages of Naimisharanya. So this is a double association that he was awarded to. Transcendental service or the science of Krishna has to be learned from the authorities, and when one preaches the science, he becomes still more qualified. So Suda Goswami had both the advantages, and thus undoubtedly he was completely freed from all disqualifications of low birth and mental agonies. This verse definitely proves that Srila Sukadeva Goswami did not refuse to teach Suda Goswami about the transcendental science, nor did the sages of Naimisharanya refuse to hear lessons from him because of his inferior birth. So this we have to understand, that one should not reject because of the birth issue. One should not try to, try not to teach because of the birth issue. And listening also. So this is the qualification of a pure devotee. It's not by birth, a devotee is by qualification. So whether he is the devotee has an inferior birth or a superior birth, they are devotee only. This means that thousands of years ago, there was no bar to learning or preaching the transcendental science because of the inferior birth. This has creeped in our society only, the recent past. Only the, what you call Brahmanic, those who are born in Brahmana only can learn the Vedas or such scriptures. No, it is only creeped in recent past. It was not there.
Sorry, bro, this Manusmritis are there, no, Prabhu. That has so much discrimination. Manusmritis, that only I think, Prabhu. I think some group of Brahmanas or somebody sat and formed a lot of Manusmriti laws.
No, Prabhuji, it's only a misinterpretation. The Manusmriti also may not, because when Krishna says, Manu is also giving the Manusmriti for the human being to, follow that. So there may be misinterpretation that only Brahmanas can do. So as Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita rightly says, this is not by birth. So if anybody qualified to receive this knowledge, they can. It's not by birth. If somebody is misusing this knowledge, then they are not eligible. Why is that Ekalavya was not given knowledge, this archery vidya by Dronacharya? It's not because he was a Nishada. he was, taken birth in the lower family. It's not because of that. What is the reason?
The misuse of the knowledge.
Yes, that is, he could foresee that. That was the reason, not because that he was born in a lower caste family or something. So somebody who is qualified, it's no harm in teaching. They should get this knowledge. But unfortunately, there is a lot of misinterpretation from the caste brahmanas that only they are supposed to learn this Vedas, this and that. Anybody who is qualified to receive this knowledge should be imparted. The qualification is a must. The qualification is a must. Without that, no. So that's why we can see from our histories, Prahlad Maharaj, Asuri family. How come Narada Maharshi gave this knowledge to him? Okay, Parasurama is a different this thing. He didn't want any Kshatriya to learn, because all the so-called Kshatriya was all doing atrocities. That was the reason. Okay, so that means that thousands of years ago, there was no bar to learning or preaching the transcendent science because of inferior birth. The rigidity of the so-called caste system in Hindu society became prominent within only 100 years or so, when the number of Dijabandhus or disqualified men in the families of higher caste increased. So Prabhupada is very clearly saying it has become a practice in the society only for 100 years or so. Okay, the Smartha Brahmanas or the Dijabandhus. Who is a Dijabandhu? Not the real Brahmana. It's a friend of a Brahmana. They are born in Brahmanic family without having any culture of Brahmanas. They are called Dijabandhus. So when they came, they started misinterpreting all this and then told, no, only those who are born Brahmanas can take to the studies of Vedas and other things. So that is how all this problem started. So Prabhupada is telling here very clearly. Lord Sri Chaitanya revived the original Vedic system, and he elevated Thakura Haridasa to the position of Namacharya, or the authority in preaching the glories of the holy name of the Lord. Although His Holiness Srila Haridas Thakur was pleased to appear in the family of Mohammedans. Okay. When there was a ceremony, the prasada has to be given to a Brahmana first. So whom did Advaita Acharya give the prasada? He gave the prasada first to Haridas Thakur, who was born as a Muslim. Advaita Acharya was considering Haridas Thakur be the topmost of Vaishnavas, not based on birth, based on his qualification. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew this very well. He accepted. It is not by birth, it is only by qualification that one become a pure devotee of the Lord, or a Brahmana or Vaishnava. Hare Krishna. Any points or any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dijabandhu means disqualified men in the families of higher caste. So that twice born Brahmana, what is that name, Prabhuji? One time you
twice born is one who has taken the Upanayana. No, that is what is that?
5-year-old they perform that ceremony, Prabhu. Sacred ceremony.
They are called Dvija. They are called Dvijas, twice born. When you take the Brahmanical initiation, it's called Dvija, because there is a samskara we have to follow. We accept a spiritual master. Okay, and the spiritual master gives a secret mantra also. So that's a Dvija. So he becomes qualified to receive knowledge. Dvija. But Dvija Bandhu is, although they are born in Brahmanic family, they are not cultured. They are not following the Brahmanical principles. They are called Dvija Bandhu. Ashwatthama was called Dvija Bandhu. Ashwatthama was called Dvija Bandhu. He was not a Dvija. Why? Because although he was born to our Dronacharya, Brahmana, but then he was not following what a Brahmana was supposed to follow. That's why he was addressed as Dijabandhu. Okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one more doubt, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Yeah.
today Gopal Bhatta Goswami's disappearance day, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
He's from Srirangam. His father Venkata Bhatta. Venkata Bhatta.
Yeah.
There any specific reason, Prabhuji, why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed to go to Vrindavan? If he might there, means he can spread all these knowledge to southern region, Prabhuji, because so many people nowadays don't know about this knowledge, everything. There might be some reason Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed means there might be some reason, Prabhuji.
I don't know really, Mataji, why? Because they're all one of the Shad Goswami, Gopala Bhatta. So he was called to Vrindavan also when he grows big. Yeah, I don't know why exactly. What is the reason why he was called to Vrindavan? Most of the Shad Goswamis, they served in Vrindavan. So that is a place where Krishna Leela took place. And they were instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to write bhakti literatures and excavate the pastime places of Sri Krishna and other devotees. So why he was called to Vrindavan, I have no idea, Mataji.
Prabhuji, that during the visit of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srirangam Prabhu, during that time, that Chaturmasya time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started, no Prabhu, he stayed there in Srirangam, Venkata Bhatta. So supreme, Prema Bhakti about Radha Krishna's devotional service, when it was guided to them, that time itself they decided, Prabhu, that this is the topmost Vaishnava Bhakti form, and that is why that attracted to them, Prabhu.
No, why Mataji is asking why, if he had remained there in South India, he could have spread this. That's what, why he was brought. He could have remained there. That's what Mataji is asking.
Yeah, correct, Prabhu. But because he, Gopala Bhatta himself was attracted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's his instructions to his father, Prabhu. So that is that. 19 years later only our Gopala Bhatta will go to Vrindavan, Prabhu. After that.
No, that's fine. Agreed. Why Mataji is asking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could have instructed Gopala Bhatta to be there and preach. So this is a question.
Prabhuji, if those who are these nectarian people, they are staying in Mayapur and Vrindavan, means who will give preaching, who will give knowledge to our fallen souls, Prabhuji, like us. We came here and we got all these, us means our own people, Prabhuji. We came here and we started to get this knowledge, Prabhuji. Still more.
Mataji, the idea is that if everything is done by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his close associates, what is the role of people like you?
Krishna.
Now you have to go and start preaching center there and spread it. So, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to use you all in the devotional service. Not that everyone, all should be done by Shad Goswamis and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entrusted this job to Prabhupada to take it to the Western world. Now he is entrusting us directly or indirectly to spread this in our own states and in our own village. So otherwise, what will be our job?
Yes, Prabhuji, your blessings, Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yes. After that also, Prabhu, after that so many books came, no Prabhu. Gopala Bhatta Swami only wrote the Hari Bhakti Vilasa. He gave commentaries on Hari Bhakti Vilasa. From there, his disciple Srinivasa Acharya took it to Narottama Dasa. Then the Bhakti spread like anything, no Prabhu. So
yes, but it's still spreading, and we all can still spread it. We can be an instrument in the hands of Srila Prabhupada and the predecessor Acharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all. So I will just finish this quickly because 8:30, as I told you, I have to leave. Okay, Prabhuji, I'll just quickly read this passage. Such is the power of pure devotees of the Lord. The Ganges water is accepted as pure, and one can become purified after taking a bath in the waters of the Ganges. But as far as the great devotees of the Lord are concerned, they can purify a degraded soul even by being seen by the low-born, and what to speak of association. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to purify the whole atmosphere of the polluted world by sending qualified preachers all over the world. So we are all preachers of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army. So please go to different parts of the world, at least in our hometown, and start spreading it. and it remains with the Indians to take up the task. Yes, scientifically and thus do the best kind of humanitarian work. The mental diseases at the present generation are more acute than bodily diseases. It is quite fit and proper to take up the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world without delay. Mahatmanam Abhidhana also means dictionary of great devotees, or a book full of the words of great devotees. Such a dictionary of the words of great devotees and those of the Lord are in Vedas and allied literatures, specifically Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. So I will stop here. Please put on all the cameras, and I will just say 3 times Hare Krishna mantra and leave, because I've got, sorry, today I've got some other assignment. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.